The night sky over New Haven City shimmered with 1,000 colors, every hue painted by the lights of alien ships crossing Earth's orbit. It had been 5 years since the peace accord. 5 years since humans and aliens finally decided to share one planet, but peace was not the same as acceptance. Inside a crowded cafeteria of Riverstone Elementary, a little alien girl sat alone at a corner table. Her name was Lyra. She had light blue skin that shimmered softly under the warm lights. Her hair was like threads of sunlight, pale gold and thin, falling over her small shoulders. And her eyes, oh, her eyes were wide, bright, full of quiet fear. Every day, she came to school wearing the same pink dress with ruffled shoulders. It was a human style, not her kind's. Her mother said it would help her fit in. But it didn't. The other kids whispered. Some giggled, some called her weird, and some just stared. Lyra would sit alone, her small hands clasped tightly together. Lunchtime was the hardest, while the human kids laughed and traded snacks. She opened her small silver container, filled with a strange blue jelly from her home planet. She never complained, she never cried, she just watched. One afternoon, when the rain was tapping gently against the windows, the cafeteria smelled of bread and warm soup. Lyra sat quietly as usual. That was when a boy named Evan noticed her. Evan was 10, with messy brown hair and kind brown eyes. He saw Lyra holding her container but not eating. Instead, she stared at a group of kids sharing chocolate chip cookies. Evan hesitated, then took one from his tray. He walked to her table, his heart thumping fast, and said softly, "Hey, do you want a cookie?" Lyra froze, her bright blue eyes widened. No one had ever offered her anything before. She shook her head slowly, whispering, I can't eat human food." Evan smiled. "It's okay, you don't have to eat it, just take it." He placed it gently on her tray. A simple round cookie, warm, sweet, soft. Lyra looked at it like it was something sacred. Her trembling fingers reached out. She lifted it close to her face. The smell of chocolate and sugar filled her senses, and then she cried. Tears streamed down her soft blue cheeks, glowing faintly under the light. She didn't sob loudly, just small broken sounds of disbelief. Her hands shook as she whispered, "Why are you giving this to me?" Evan didn't know what to say. He shrugged. "Because you looked hungry, and I don't like eating alone." Lyra pressed the cookie to her lips, took a tiny bite, and the taste, sweet, warm, human, made her cry harder, because on her planet, food was never shared. It was rationed, cold, tasteless, and love was rare. In that moment, the entire cafeteria went silent. Dozens of kids turned to look. They saw an alien girl crying over a cookie. Some laughed, some whispered, but Evan stood beside her, and for the first time someone defended her. "Stop staring," he said loudly. "She's just like us." His voice broke the silence. The teacher looked up, surprised. Lyra covered her face, her tears glittering like tiny stars. But that moment changed everything. The next day, Evan sat with her again, and this time, 2 other kids joined them. They brought sandwiches, chips, fruit, and shared everything. Lyra tried everything carefully, one small bite at a time. Each taste brought new tears, but this time, they were tears of joy. Days passed. Lyra started laughing. Her laughter was light, musical. She helped her friends with math. She told them stories about her planet, Zalora, how the oceans there glowed at night, how their trees whispered songs when the wind passed through. But not everyone was kind. Some adults didn't like aliens. One day, as Lyra waited for her ride outside, a man from across the street shouted, "Keep your kind away from our kids." Lyra froze. Her small hands gripped her backpack. Her eyes filled with confusion. She whispered softly, "Why do they hate me?" Evan stood beside her, fists clenched. He didn't understand either, but that night he told his parents, and his mother, who worked as a nurse, smiled sadly and said, "Sometimes people fear what they don't understand, but kindness teaches them faster than anger ever will." The next morning, Evan and his mom baked cookies fresh. Warm, chocolate chip. They took them to school and gave one to every student, with a small note that said, "Sharing makes us stronger." When Lyra opened her lunchbox that day, she found one extra cookie inside, wrapped carefully. With her name written on it, she looked up, and the whole class smiled at her. Tears filled her eyes again. But this time she smiled too, a real smile. Years later, when Lyra grew up, she became a scientist working at the Human Alien Research Institute. Her invention helped both species communicate without barriers. During the press conference, when a reporter asked what inspired her to dedicate her life to unity, she paused, smiled softly, and said, "It began with a cookie. A boy named Evan shared it with me, and that day I learned what humanity truly means." The crowd fell silent, and somewhere in that silence, a truth echoed across hearts, that kindness, no matter how small, can change the course of worlds. And when Lyra went home that evening, she placed a cookie on her desk, looked out at the night sky, and whispered through tears, "Thank you, Evan, for seeing me when no one else did." Outside her window, the stars of Zalora blinked softly, as if they too remembered the little alien kid who cried when humans shared their food with her. Part 1. The cookie that broke the silence. The first time Lyra tasted a human cookie, she thought it was a trap. Not because she was paranoid, not because she hated humans, because on Zalora, food was never a gift, it was a warning. Riverstone Elementary smelled like warm bread and disinfectant. Kids ran, chairs scraped, trays clattered, laughter bounced off the walls, and in the far corner, under a flickering ceiling light, Lyra sat alone. She was small for her age, thin like a winter branch. Her skin was a soft blue that looked almost painted. Her ears were pointed and delicate, like a storybook elf. Her eyes were bright, too bright, the kind of eyes that watched everything because they could not afford to miss danger. She opened her lunch container with careful hands. Inside was a pale blue jelly, smooth, cold, and scentless. The kind of food that kept you alive, not the kind that made you feel loved. Across the room, a group of kids traded snacks like it was a game. A sandwich for chips, chips for a pudding cup, pudding for a cookie. Lyra watched the cookies, the most round, golden, dotted with chocolate like tiny stones from a sweet planet. Her throat tightened. Not hunger, not exactly, something deeper. Something that hurt in a quiet way. A chair scraped near her table. Lyra flinched so fast her spoon slipped from her fingers. It clinked against the tray, loud enough to turn heads. A boy stood there, holding his tray like a shield, messy brown hair, a face that looked nervous but determined. He took a slow breath, like he was stepping into a storm. "Hi," he said, softer than the cafeteria noise. "I'm Evan." Lyra did not answer. She stared at his hands, on her world, hands that reached toward you usually meant one of two things: taking or punishment. Evan glanced at her lunch, then at the cookies across the room. He swallowed. Then he did something that made Lyra's heart slam against her ribs. He picked up a cookie from his tray and held it out. "For you," he said. Lyra's eyes widened. She didn't move. Her fingers curled into her palm, nails pressing into blue skin. "I can't," she whispered. "I'm not supposed to eat human food." Evan's eyebrows lifted. "Then don't eat it if you don't want to," he said. "Just have it." Lyra stared at the cookie like it was glowing, warm, soft, real. She shook her head again, more urgently. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you giving it to me?" Evan's voice shook a little, but he didn't back away. "Because you look lonely," he said. "And because it's not right that you sit here every day by yourself." That sentence hit Lyra harder than any insult she had heard since arriving on Earth, because it was not cruel, it was kind. And kindness was the one thing she didn't know how to survive. Her hands began to tremble. She reached out slowly, as if the cookie might bite her. Her fingers touched it. Warmth spread into her skin, into her bones. She lifted it, held it close. The smell made her dizzy. Chocolate and sugar, and something gentle, something that didn't exist in ration halls, something that didn't exist in emergency shelters, something that didn't exist in the place she came from. Lyra took the smallest bite. A crumb broke free and fell onto her tray, and the taste, sweet and soft, flooded her mouth. Her face changed, her lips parted, her breath caught. Then her eyes filled, fast, too fast. Like a dam collapsing, tears spilled down her blue cheeks. Bright under the cafeteria lights, she tried to stop them. She tried to swallow them. But her body betrayed her. A quiet shaking started in her shoulders. Evan froze. "Hey," he said. Panicked. "Did I do something wrong?" Lyra shook her head, unable to speak. She covered her mouth with one hand, cookie still in the other, and she cried harder. The cafeteria began to hush. Kids turned. Whispers rose like insects. "Is she crying over a cookie?" Someone snorted. "Aliens are so weird," another voice said. A giggle. Then another. Lyra's ears picked up every sound. Sharp as needles, her cheeks burned. Her throat tightened. She wanted to vanish. Evan's chair scraped back as he stood. His face turned red, not with embarrassment, with something else. "Stop," he said, loud enough to cut through the room. His voice bounced off the walls. Trays paused mid-air. Even the teachers looked up. "Just stop." Evan said again, louder. "She's not weird. She's not a thing. She's a kid." Lyra stared at him, tears still sliding down her face. No one had ever raised their voice for her. Not on Zalora, not in the transit camps, not even in the first weeks on Earth. Evan sat back down slower now. He pushed his tray toward her table, like it was an offering. "Do you want another one?" he asked quietly. Lyra shook her head, still crying, still tasting sweetness. Then she forced the words out, broken and trembling. "On my planet," she whispered, "food is never shared. It's counted. It's locked. If you have extra, you hide it. If you give it away, you become weak." Evan blinked, his anger fading into sadness. "That sounds awful," he said. Lyra nodded. Her voice fell to a whisper. "My father said sharing was for fools." A silence opened between them, deep and heavy. Then Evan did something simple, something human. He broke his cookie in half and placed one half beside hers. "Then maybe," he said, "Earth can teach you something different." Lyra stared at the half cookie, then at his face, and something inside her loosened. Not fear, not pain, a tiny thread of hope. For the first time since arriving, Lyra smiled. Small and shaky, and in that smile, Evan saw it. She wasn't cold. She wasn't strange. She was scared. And she was trying. After lunch, as they walked to class, Lyra's fingers still smelled like chocolate. She kept looking down at them like she couldn't believe it was real. Evan walked beside her, guarding her with his presence. But on the other side of the hallway, a teacher's phone buzzed. A news alert flashed across the screen, and the words made the teacher's face go pale. "Alien envoy attacked near City Hall." That afternoon, when Lyra went home, her mother's hands were shaking. She locked the door twice, then 3 times. She pulled the curtains closed before the sun even set. "What's happening?" Lyra asked. Her mother pressed a finger to Lyra's lips. "Quiet," she whispered. "Just be quiet." Through the wall, Lyra heard voices outside, angry voices, human voices. A word repeated again and again, like a chant. "Go back, go back, go back." Lyra clutched the cookie Evan had tucked into her bag. It was wrapped in a napkin with her name written in careful letters. Her breathing sped up. Her body remembered old nights, cold nights. Nights where doors didn't protect you. Her mother knelt and cupped Lyra's face. "Listen to me," she said, eyes wet. "No matter what they say, you are worthy. You understand?" Lyra nodded. But her throat was tight. She looked toward the window. Her hands clenched around the cookie as if it could keep her safe. Outside, something hit the building. A sharp crack, then another. Glass trembled in its frame. Lyra flinched, and the cookie slipped. It fell onto the floor. The napkin opened, and the cookie rolled, leaving a trail of crumbs like broken stars. Lyra stared at it. Her chest rose and fell fast. Then she whispered, barely audible, "Evan." Her mother's voice hardened with fear. "You will not go to school tomorrow," she said. "It's not safe." Lyra's eyes snapped up. Not angry, not loud, but firm, like something in her had finally taken shape. "I have to," she whispered. "I have to see if kindness is real." That night, Lyra lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her room painted in soft blues, a human attempt at comfort. She held the broken cookie pieces on a plate beside her pillow, as if keeping them close could keep the world from turning cruel again. And in the darkness, Lyra made a silent promise. If humans could share food with her, if they could share warmth with her, then she would not waste it. She didn't know yet that the next morning would test that promise. She didn't know yet that kindness would come with a price. She didn't know yet that the cookie was only the beginning. Part 2. The day the gate opened. Morning arrived too bright, too normal. The sky looked peaceful, like it hadn't heard the shouting from the night before. Lyra walked to school anyway. Her mother held her hand so tightly it hurt. Evan waited at the corner, like he always did now, his backpack hanging from one shoulder, his face serious. "You came," he said. Lyra nodded. "I had to," she whispered. They stepped onto school grounds, and Lyra felt it immediately, the tension. Teachers standing too stiff, parents lingering too long. A police cruiser parked near the entrance like a silent threat. Inside the hallway, a poster had been taped to the wall. Human letters in thick black marker, "Humans first." Lyra's stomach twisted. She kept walking, eyes down. Evan stayed closer than usual, as if his shoulder could block the whole world. In class, the teacher tried to act cheerful, but her voice shook, and when the announcements came over the speaker, the principal sounded like he was holding his breath. "We are aware of the incident near City Hall," the principal said. "We are asking everyone to remain calm. We are asking everyone to remember that Riverstone is a community." Lyra heard the word community and felt a bitter sting, because communities did not usually leave kids alone in corners. Communities did not usually whisper like Neva's at lunch. Evan brought 2 cookies. He didn't offer right away. He waited until Lyra sat, until her hands were steady, then he slid one across the table. And Lyra took it, this time without flinching. A girl named Mina approached, slow and uncertain. She held a small box of strawberries. Mina said, cheeks red. "I thought maybe you'd like these." Lyra looked up, surprised. Evan's eyes widened too. Lyra reached out, touched the box. Her throat tightened again, but she forced herself to breathe. "Thank you," she whispered. 2 more kids came, then another. A little circle formed around their table, small but real. Food. Traded hands, smiles traded too. For a moment, Lyra felt like the world might actually change. Then the cafeteria doors slammed open. A man strode inside with a furious face. Not a teacher, not a parent anyone recognized. A jacket with a bold symbol stitched on the sleeve. Behind him, 2 more adults followed, phones raised, recording. "Where is the alien?" the man shouted. Kids gasped, chairs scraped. Teachers rushed forward, hands up, voices trying to calm him. "You can't be in here," a teacher said. The man pointed past her, straight at Lyra's table. "There," he snapped. "There she is. They are bringing them into our schools." Lyra's body went cold. The cookie in her hand suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Evan stood up so fast his chair crashed backward. "Leave her alone," he said, voice shaking but loud. The man laughed, harsh and ugly. "Listen to the little hero," he said. "Are you proud of yourself, boy? Feeding the invader." Lyra's ears rang. Invader. A word she had heard in transit camps, a word that turned people into targets. A teacher stepped between them. "Sir, you need to go," she said, firm. But the man pulled something from his pocket. Not a weapon, worse, a small device that pulsed red, like a heartbeat. Lyra's eyes widened. She recognized that technology, Zelleran gate tech, modified, unstable. Her breath caught. "No," she whispered. "No." Evan glanced at her, confused. "What is it?" he asked. Lyra stood slowly, legs trembling. "That's a gate spark," she whispered. "It can open a tear. It can pull someone through." The man grinned as if he loved the fear in her voice. "Good," he said. "Then you know what's coming." He pressed the device. The air beside Lyra's table rippled, like heat above pavement. Then it split, a thin line of darkness that widened into a circle, a hole in the world, humming, hungry. Kids screamed, teachers shouted. The lights flickered violently. Lyra backed away, but the pull was strong. Her feet slid on the cafeteria floor. Her lunch tray tipped, strawberries spilled. Cookies rolled like tiny moons. Evan grabbed her wrist, both hands clamping down. "Lyra," he shouted, "I've got you." Lyra's tears burst free again, not gentle this time, raw panic. Her voice cracked. "Let go," she screamed. "IT will take you too. I don't care." Evan yelled, louder than everything. The darkness surged. Lyra felt it in her bones, a cold tug. Avoid calling her name. Then the worst sound came, a sharp snap like a rope breaking. Evan's grip slipped. Lyra's world tilted. Her stomach rose into her throat. The cafeteria vanished. The screaming faded. And the last thing she saw was Evan lunging forward, eyes wide with terror. "Lyra, hold on." Then the gate swallowed her. Silence, cold, darkness that smelled like metal and storms. Lyra landed hard on a floor that wasn't a floor, more like a platform suspended in empty space. A strange corridor of shimmering walls. Zelleran transport architecture, old and forbidden. Her breath came out in a sob. She sat up, dizzy, and the first face she saw made her blood freeze. A Zelleran soldier, armor dark, eyes cold. He stepped toward her, boots echoing, and spoke in her native tongue. "You should never have eaten their food," he said, voice like stone. "You have become soft. You have become human." Lyra's tears spilled again. Not because she missed cookies, because she understood now the kindness had been real, and the world hated her for it. Part 3, The Hunger Lesson. Lyra was dragged through the corridor, not roughly, not gently, like cargo that mattered, but not like a child. The soldier led her into a chamber with glowing panels and cold blue light. A man waited there, taller than the soldier, dressed in the sleek robes of authority. His skin was the same shade of blue as Lyra's, but his eyes were not bright like hers. They were dim, hardened, starved of warmth. Lyra knew him, even before he spoke, not by face, but by the feeling in the room, the pressure of control, the weight of old fear. "Lyra," the man said. Her throat tightened, her lips trembled. "Father," she whispered. His name was Varek. Once a high-ranking strategist, a man who believed survival was more sacred than love, a man who taught Lyra to hide food, hide emotion, hide weakness. He stepped closer, gaze sweeping over her. Then his eyes narrowed at the faint smear of chocolate on her fingers. "So it's true," he said, voice low and disgusted. "You accepted their offerings. You ate their sweetness. You let them train your heart like a pet." Lyra's breath shook. "I was hungry," she whispered. Varek's laugh was sharp. "Hunger is not an excuse," he snapped. "Hunger is a lesson." Lyra flinched, memories flashing. Cold ration halls, metal trays, silent lines of children. Her hands clenched. "I was lonely," she said, louder. "I was scared. I was just a kid." Varek's eyes hardened further. "And that is why you are dangerous," he said. "Because humans do not understand what you are. They will use you, then throw you away." Lyra's tears fell, but her voice steadied. "They didn't throw me away," she said. "They shared." The word shared tasted like rebellion in her mouth. Varek's jaw tightened as if it offended him. "You do not know what they have done," he said. "You do not know what they will do when the next famine hits. You do not know what it means to be Zelleran when the cupboards are empty." Lyra's chest tightened. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Why did you take me?" Varek turned toward a glowing display. On it, Earth's blue curve rotated slowly, beautiful and fragile. Beside it, a Zelleran map, red zones flashing. Resource lines, transport routes, gate points. You are the bridge, Varek said. And bridges can be used, Lyra stared, shaking. You opened a gate in a school. She said, horrified. You could have killed children. Varek looked at her as if she was naive. Sacrifices are always made, he said. Your humans will learn fear. And fear will keep them obedient. Lyra felt sick. She thought of Evan's face, his hands grabbing hers. His voice shouting, I've got you. She swallowed hard. Yevon, she whispered. Where is he? Varek's expression didn't change. But the soldier shifted, as if uncomfortable. No human crossed, Varek said. The gate was tuned to Zelleran biosignature. Only you could be taken, relief. Hit Lyra so hard she almost collapsed. Evan was safe. But then another thought punched through her, safe, and blaming himself. Lyra's voice cracked. I have to go back, she pleaded. I have to tell him. I have to stop this. Varek leaned down until his face was close to hers, his voice turned quiet, more dangerous than shouting. You will go back, he said. But not as a child. You will go back as a message. You will go back and show them what Zalora really is. Lyra shook her head, terrified. I won't, she whispered. Varek's hand lifted, 2 fingers pressing lightly against her forehead. A pressure point. A controlled gesture from her childhood. Lyra froze, body remembering the command. You will, he said, because I still control the gate codes in your blood. Lyra's eyes widened. What? She breathed. Varek turned to the soldier. Prepare the imprint, he ordered. Lyra stumbled back, panic rising. 2 devices were brought forward. Humming with cold light, a neural imprint rig. Used in old Zelleran programs to plant directives, to bend minds. Lyra's tears surged. No, she cried louder. Please. And in that desperate moment, something happened, something Lyra didn't expect. Her hearing shifted. Not physical hearing, something deeper. She heard the soldier's heart rate. The fear beneath his obedience. The guilt trapped behind his eyes. Lyra stared at him. And the soldier blinked, like he felt her look inside him. Why are you doing this? Lyra whispered to him, not Varek. You know it's wrong, the soldier's jaw tightened. Silence, he muttered. Lyra took a shaky breath. I remember hunger, she said softly. I remember cold, but I also remember something else. I remember the day my mother gave me her ration, she went. Hungry so I could live. That was sharing. That was love. The soldier's eyes flickered, a crack, small but real. Varek snapped, enough. He grabbed Lyra's arm and dragged her toward the rig. Lyra struggled, sobbing, feet scraping, and then she did. The only thing she could think of, she screamed one word. From the deepest part of her lungs. A word she had learned from Earth. A word that meant salvation in human language. Help. The chamber hummed, and somewhere far away on Earth, a boy named Evan woke up with a violent jolt, like he had heard her voice in his bones. Part 4. The human who would not quit. Evan didn't sleep after the gate swallowed Lyra. Not really. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment again and again. His hands still felt her wrist slipping. His ears still heard her scream cut off. His chest felt like it was full of rocks. At school the next day, the cafeteria looked normal, but it wasn't. The cookies were still there. The chairs were still there. But Lyra's corner table looked like a crime scene. Teachers talked in tight voices. Police asked questions. Parents argued in the parking lot. And on the news, people debated whether aliens should be allowed near children. Evan tried to tell the truth. He tried to say the gate device was Zelleran tech. He tried to say Lyra wasn't dangerous, she was taken. But adults didn't listen the way kids did. Adults listened with fear in their ears. Evan's mother hugged him so hard he could barely breathe. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Evan pulled back, eyes burning. Sorry doesn't bring her back, he said, voice shaking. I have to do something. His mother's face tightened. What can you do? She asked, heartbroken. You're a child, Evan swallowed. Then he reached into his backpack and pulled out a napkin. The napkin Lyra had used to wrap her cookie. The one with her name written in careful letters. He laid it on the table like evidence. "She's real," he said, "and she's out there. And I'm not just going to sit here." That night, Evan went online, not to play games, to search. Everything he could about Gates, about Zelleran transport corridors, about old war tech. He found forums, leaked files, scientific papers. He didn't understand most of it, but he kept reading anyway. At 2 in the morning, he found something that made his stomach drop, a mention of neural imprints, a rumor that some Zelleran factions still used them. A way to turn someone into a walking message. Evan's hands shook as he stared at the screen. Lyra's tears over a cookie flashed in his mind. The way her shoulders trembled. The way she asked why. "Why are you giving this to me?" Evan's throat tightened. "If they hurt her," he whispered, "I swear." He stopped, because he didn't know what he could swear as a 10-year-old. But he knew what he could do. He could refuse to forget her. The next morning, Evan went to the human-alien liaison office with his mother. The building was tall, cold, full of security checkpoints. A woman behind a glass desk looked tired and wary. "We want to report a kidnapping," Evan said. "An alien kid was taken through a gate. She's my friend. Her name is Lyra." The woman's eyes flicked to his mother, then back to Evan. "Kid," she said, voice flat. "There are protocols. There are investigations. We can't rush into." Evan slammed his palms on the desk, not hard enough to hurt, hard enough to make the sound echo. And when he spoke, his voice was raw. "They took her from a school," he said. "She cried because we shared food. She's not a threat. She's a child. If you don't do something, you're letting them win." The woman stared, startled. Evan's mother gasped softly, tears rising, because she recognized something in her son's face. A kind of bravery that came from love, not from ego. The woman took a slow breath. Then she stood. "Come with me," she said quietly. They were led to a back office where a Zelleran diplomat sat waiting. The diplomat's skin was blue like Lyra's, but his posture was careful, restrained. His eyes softened when Evan said her name. "Lyra," the diplomat repeated. A pain flickered across his face. "She is missing." Evan's heart jumped. "So you know," he said. "You know she's gone." The diplomat nodded. "There are factions," he said, voice low. "Not all Zellerans accept peace. Some want to weaponize symbols. And your friend sadly is a symbol." Evan clenched his fists. "Then get her back," he said. The diplomat's eyes lowered. "It is not that simple," he murmured. "Gates are restricted. Earth does not allow unauthorized jumps, and Zalora will deny involvement." Vevan leaned forward, face fierce. "Then make it simple," he said. "Because she believed in us. She believed kindness was real. And if we abandon her now, then we prove every hateful person right." The room went still. Even the diplomat looked shaken. Finally, the diplomat exhaled. "There is one option," he said. "A covert retrieval team. But it requires a locator." Evan's eyes widened. "A locator," he echoed. The diplomat nodded. "Something linked to her," he said. "Something that carries her bio-imprint." Evan's mind raced. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out the napkin again. He held it up carefully, like it might break. "She touched this," Evan said. "She cried on it. She held it." The diplomat stared at the napkin, then stood slowly. He took it with reverence, as if it was holy. He closed his eyes. Fingers brushing the fabric. "There is a trace," he whispered. Evan's breath caught. Hope surged, hot and painful. But hope did not mean safety. Hope meant movement, and movement meant war could wake again. Part 5. The message they tried to carve into her. Lyra was strapped to the imprint. Rig, cold bands around her wrists, around her ankles. The ceiling lights pulsed like slow heartbeats. The air smelled like metal and ozone. She tried to fight, she really did. But Vuruk's soldiers were trained, and Lyra was still small, still shaking, still terrified. Vuruk stood beside her, calm, clinical. He watched her tears as if they were just water. "Do not waste energy," he said. "This will be easier if you cooperate." Lyra's voice cracked. "You're my father," she whispered. "How can you do this?" Varek's eyes did not soften. "I am Zelarin," he said. "And Zelora is starving." Lyra's breathing hitched. "Earth isn't starving," she said. "Earth has food. Earth has cookies. Earth has people who share." Varek's mouth tightened in disgust. "Earth has softness," he said. "Earth has weakness. Earth has comfort that will vanish when crisis comes. And when it does, they will turn on you." Lyra squeezed her eyes shut. She thought of mine as strawberries, the kid smiling, Evan breaking a cookie in half, she whispered. "They won't." Varek leaned closer, voice like ice. "They already are," he said. "Did you not hear the chanting? Did you not feel their fear? This imprint will ensure you remember the truth." The rig hummed louder. A needle of light hovered near Lyra's temple. Lyra's body went rigid, panic exploding. Then the soldier from earlier stepped forward. His hands hesitated. His eyes flicked to Lyra's face. To her tears, for a second, he looked like he might stop. Lyra saw that hesitation and grabbed it. "Like a lifeline, please," she whispered, voice broken. "I don't want to be their weapon. I just wanted to be a kid." The soldier's jaw clenched. His fingers tightened around the control panel. Sweat gathered at his brow. Varek snapped. "Do IT." The soldier flinched at the shout, and in that flinch, Lyra felt something. A pulse, a chance. Lyra focused on the soldier's fear. She didn't know how she was doing it, but she could feel emotions now like sounds. Guilt was a low ringing. Fear was a high tremble, and hope, tiny hope, was a soft warmth. She whispered his name, a guess, a gamble. "Rian," she said. The soldier froze, eyes wide. "How do you know?" he rasped. Lyra swallowed. "I can hear you," she whispered. "Not your words. Your heart. You don't want to do this." Rian's hands trembled. Varek narrowed his eyes. "Suspicious, what is this?" Varek demanded. Lyra's voice rose, shaky but brave. "Because you remember your mother," she said to Rian. "You remember sharing. You remember love. You're not a monster." Rian's face cracked. Tears sprang to his eyes, fast and furious. And that was the moment Varek knew. He stepped forward and struck Rian across the face. Hard, the sound snapped through the chamber. "Weak," Varek hissed. "Pathetic," Rian stumbled. Hand to his cheek, eyes blazing now, not with obedience, with rage. Lyra's heart hammered. "Rian," she whispered. "Please." Rian looked at Lyra, then at the rig, then at Varek. His chest rose and fell. Then he made a choice. He slammed his hand down on the emergency release. The restraints unlocked with a sharp click. Lyra gasped as she pulled her wrists free. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed red. Soldiers shouted and lunged. Rian grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run," he shouted. Lyra ran, barefoot, heart pounding. They sprinted through corridors, past flashing panels, past startled guards. Rian shoved doors open, dragged Lyra through. His breath was ragged, desperate. "Why?" Lyra cried as they ran. "Why are you helping me?" Rian's voice shook. "Because you reminded me I'm still alive," he said. "And because..." His voice broke. "I'm tired of starving my soul." Behind them, footsteps thundered. Varek's furious voice echoed down the hall. "Bring her back. Do not let her escape." Rian slammed a panel. A small gate shimmered open. Unstable, narrow, Lyra stared, terrified. "That's not tuned," she cried. "It could tear us apart." Rian met her eyes, fierce and desperate. "Better torn than owned," he said. They stepped through together. Part 6. A Court of Two Worlds. Lyra fell onto hard ground, coughing. Cold air hit her lungs. She rolled onto her side dizzy, and when she looked up, she saw Earth's sky. Gray and real, rain misted her face. She was back, not at Riverstone, not at home, but in an abandoned service yard near the city's old transit station. Rian collapsed beside her, breathing hard. Blood trickled from a cut near his brow. He stared up at the sky like it was a miracle. Lyra's hands shook as she touched her own. Face, she was whole. She was here. But then fear struck again. Varek would come. Varek would not forgive. Sirens wailed in the distance. Footsteps approached. Multiple fast, trained. Lyra scrambled backward, panic surging. Then a familiar voice cut through the rain. "YRA!" Evan burst into the yard, soaked, hair plastered to his forehead. His eyes were red like he hadn't slept for days. He ran to her and dropped to his knees, hands hovering like he was afraid to touch her. "You're here," he choked. "You're really here." Lyra's tears exploded. She threw herself into his arms, shaking, sobbing. Evan held her like he would never let go again. "I'm sorry," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm sorry I couldn't hold on." Lyra pulled back, tears streaming. "You tried," she said, breathless. "You tried." And that mattered, behind Evan. Men and women in liaison uniforms surrounded the yard. The Zelleran diplomat stepped forward, face pale with relief, and when his eyes fell on Rian, his expression changed, sharp and wary. "A soldier," the diplomat said, tense. "What have you done?" Rian lifted his hands slowly, exhausted. "I saved her," he rasped. "And I ran." The diplomat's jaw clenched. "Running does not erase crimes," he said. Lyra stepped between them, trembling but firm. "He saved me," she said louder. "He stopped the imprint. He risked everything." The liaison officers exchanged glances. Then one of them spoke into a cum device, urgent. "We have her," the officer said. "We have Lyra. And we have a Zelleran defector." Within hours, the story exploded across every screen. A missing alien child returned. A gate incident confirmed. A Zelleran faction exposed. Protests erupted. Some people demanded deportations. Some demanded war. Some demanded answers. And in the middle of that chaos, Lyra was brought to a chamber that felt like a courtroom and a battlefield at the same time. Humans on one side, Zellerans on the other, a table in the center like a line drawn across history. Varek appeared on a screen, broadcast from a protected Zelleran site. His face calm, eyes cold. He spoke as if he was the victim. "My daughter was taken by humans," he said, voice smooth. "She was manipulated, fed, softened. She is confused. We request her immediate return." Lyra's stomach twisted. Evan's hand squeezed hers, steadying. The human moderator spoke, firm. "Lyra is here," the moderator said. "She will speak for herself." The room turned toward Lyra, dozens of eyes, hungry for drama, hungry for proof. Lyra stood, legs trembling, her throat tight. She could feel fear in the room like a storm. She could hear hatred like a harsh buzz, but she could also hear something else. Curiosity, hope, love. Lyra swallowed. Then she spoke, voice small at first, then stronger. "I was lonely," she said. "At Riverstone, I sat alone. I thought humans hated me. And then a boy shared a cookie with me." Murmurs rippled. Varek's eyes narrowed on the screen. Lyra lifted her chin, tears rising but not breaking her. "I cried," she said, "because on Zalora food is not shared. It is controlled. It is used to make you obedient. And my father," her voice shook, then steadied. "My father wants to use me the same way." Varek's voice snapped through the speakers. "Lies," he shouted. "You are imprinted with human emotion." Lyra flinched at the shout, then took a breath. "No," she said, louder. "I am imprinted with truth. And the truth is this." Her eyes swept the room. Humans shared with me. They gave without taking. They defended me in a cafeteria. They called me a kid, not an invader. Silence fell. Heavy and stunned, even some of the hard faces looked uncertain now. Lyra turned toward the screen, staring at Varek. "You taught me hunger," she said, voice trembling with pain. "But you never taught me love. And now I know love is real, because I tasted it. It tasted like chocolate. And it felt like someone sitting beside me when I was alone." Varek's expression twisted. "You will return," he hissed. "You are Zelleran. You belong to me. Lyra shook her head, tears falling now. But her voice remained steady. I belong to myself, she said. And I choose peace. I choose sharing. I choose the world where a cookie can mean safety. The room erupted, voices overlapping, arguments, cries, accusations. But something had changed. A crack formed in the wall of fear. Part 7. The Sweetest Law. The days after Lyra's testimony felt like walking through fire. News stations replayed her words. People argued in streets, in homes, in offices. Some called her brave, some called her a traitor, some called her a weapon anyway. But the story did what stories do. It moved through hearts faster than policies ever could. At Riverstone Elementary, Mina brought strawberries again. This time, she didn't hesitate. She set them on Lyra's table like it was normal, like it was always supposed to be that way. Teachers started a sharing shelf in the cafeteria, a place where kids could leave food for anyone who needed it. No questions, no shame. Just a simple rule written in big letters. If you have extra, share. Lyra stood in front of it the first day. Hands shaking, Evan beside her, steady as ever. Lyra placed a small package on the shelf. A stack of cookies her mother had baked. Human recipe, Zellerin touch, made with care. Kids watched, quiet. Then one by one, they came forward, a juice box, a sandwich, crackers, fruit. The shelf filled, not just with food, with a new kind of courage. But Varek did not disappear. He could not. Men like him did not fade quietly one night. The liaison office received a message, a threat disguised as a warning. A Zellerin faction would open gates if Earth refused to hand Lyra over, and if gates opened, anything could come through. Fear surged again. Meetings were held, arguments sharpened. Some human officials wanted to surrender Lyra to avoid conflict. Some wanted to strike first. Lyra listened from a hallway outside the meeting room. Heart pounding, Evan's mother stood beside her, hand on her shoulder. Rian was there too, guarded, but alive. Offered asylum under strict terms. His eyes were tired, but when he looked at Lyra, there was respect. They'll try to trade you, Evan whispered, furious. They can't. They can't. Lyra's throat tightened. She stepped forward and opened the meeting room door herself. The adults turned, startled. Lyra walked in, small but unshaking. I will not be traded, she said, voice clear. A human official frowned, tense. Lyra, this is complicated, the official said. Lyra nodded, tears rising. I know, she said, but I have something you don't. I can hear what fear does to people. I can hear it twisting them. And I won't let fear make decisions for me. The room went still. Lyra took a breath, then spoke the idea that had grown in her chest since the cookie. Make sharing a law, she said, not just food. Resources, knowledge, medical aid. Make it impossible for hunger to become a weapon again, some officials scoffed. Some looked uncertain, but the Zellerin diplomat's eyes widened, thoughtful. You propose a binding mutual resource pact, the diplomat said slowly. Lyra nodded. If Zalora is starving, she said, voice breaking, then help us. But not through threats, through agreement, through sharing. A human scientist leaned forward, skeptical. And if they refuse, she asked. Lyra swallowed. Then the world will see who they are, she said, and who we are, and people will choose. They always choose when the truth is clear. The diplomat turned to the screen where Zellerin representatives waited, tense and guarded. He spoke with a new sharpness. A new power. We will offer Zalora aid, he said, transparent, monitored, fair. In exchange, no more unauthorized gates, no more weapons, no more children taken. Varek appeared again, furious. You dare bargain, he spat. You dare pretend you can feed Zalora. Lyra stepped forward, staring into the screen as if she could stare straight into his soul. I don't pretend, she said, voice trembling with pain. I remember hunger, and I remember a cookie, and I remember that the smallest kindness can change a life. So imagine what a planet's kindness can do. Varek's face twisted. For a moment, Something like uncertainty flickered. Then it vanished behind pride. "You are lost," he hissed. Lyra's tears fell, silent but shining. "Maybe," she whispered, "but I'm not alone anymore." In the weeks that followed, the pact was formed, fragile but real. Food shipments began moving toward Zellerin relief zones under joint oversight. In return, gate tech was restricted and monitored. The world held its breath, waiting to see if peace would hold. At Riverstone, Lyra sat at a full table now. Evan, Mina, other kids, laughter and noise. She ate strawberries, sandwiches, cookies, not like someone stealing joy, like someone finally allowed to have it. One afternoon, Evan slid a cookie toward her, warm, fresh, chocolate melting. He didn't ask if she wanted it. He already knew. Lyra smiled, a real smile, steady and bright. She broke the cookie in half and pushed one half back to Evan. Evan blinked, then grinned. "You're sharing," he said. Lyra nodded, eyes shining. "Yes," she whispered, "because that's the law I want." Outside, the sky was busy with ships, human and alien, crossing paths without colliding. The future was still uncertain, still dangerous, but in a small cafeteria, in a small city, a child with blue skin learned something stronger than fear, that love can be taught, that kindness can be practiced, that sharing can become a bridge. And as Lyra walked home that day, cookie crumbs on her fingers, she looked up at the sky and felt something she had never felt on Zellora: safety, not because the world was perfect, but because someone had chosen her, and she had chosen the world back. And in the quiet of her room, with soft blue curtains and a white bed behind her, Lyra held a cookie with both hands, took a bite, and she cried. Just a little, not from fear this time, from gratitude, because she knew now, with every piece of her heart, sharing saves worlds.